This popular attorney has been representing high-profile and everyday people in criminal and civil courts for the past 25 years. But in this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, B.J. Bernstein opens up to me about growing up in Columbia, her time at Emory University, and giving back to her community. Well, you know, BJ, it was midnight on January 1st, 2012, when I was taking a run from downtown Charleston back to my house, and I ran into you.
Yes, you were like, "Hi, BJ Bernstein," and I was like, "Hi." And then we said, "Let's follow each other on Twitter."
That's right.
Yes. And I learned you're a news junkie.
Yes, I really I try to keep people abreast.
I know you actually. You know what's? I really enjoy it. Not to plug you early and butter you up early, but when you're feed, you always have news stories in other markets or smaller places that are just as important as a big city.
Yes.
And so I can find out, oh, that happened in Arkansas, oh, that happened in Ohio, and it may be the same issue that I'm seeing in Georgia. So sometimes you'll tweet stories about law, and I'll be like, oh, I'm not just seeing this here, and it helps you, spot trends that are going on beyond just your backyard.
That is so true.
It's nice.
Oh, anytime. I love it. But I haven't seen you in person since 2012. So tell me, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a good year.
Yes.
I've been quieter in the world in the sense of you haven't seen me on the news.
Yes.
But I'm working hard for my clients, and sometimes for clients it's far better not to be in the news.
Oh yeah.
So I've had a good year of law and a new puppy.
Is that right?
I had a new puppy.
Tell me about that.
Josephine, and I'm calling her JoJo. She's a French bulldog, adorable.
Yes.
And I just got her 3 weeks ago. So I was at Fransky's auction, and Frank, and I wasn't planning on getting a dog, and then I met her, and there you go.
Yes.
History was made. So I got a new baby in 2012.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people know you as B.J. Bernstein, the attorney. But when the end of the day ends, who is B.J. Bernstein?
That's a good question. I ask her that every day.
Really?
Because now, let's see, I have 2 cats and a dog.
Yes.
Now, and I enjoy a lot of different things. Let's see, I do some improv comedy in Atlanta. Yeah, and there's a troupe in town that I play with from time to time, and that's just fun. I'm not very good at it, but I have a good time.
That's all that matters.
And I like to paint, not very well, but I like to sit down and paint. And, just like everybody else, I love to cook.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then teach me how to cook. I do a lot of my ways.
My mother just said, get a recipe.
Really?
Just get a book.
Yes.
Follow it.
Yes.
Not so true for me for baking. I'm not a good baker. It's too precise.
And
I like to taste along the way.
Really?
I need a little bit more. Makes it nice.
That is awesome. Well, you actually have been an attorney for the past 25 years. And I know this is weird, but after 25 years, how is it going?
I still love it, and that I can't ask for any better gift. I love that I get to help individuals. That is my practice. And my practice has changed in the last few years. I started as a prosecutor.
Yes.
Then I've done criminal defense work exclusively for years.
Yes.
And then, with a small case against Bishop Eddie Long that changed my practice, and I enjoy doing the civil work. I find it's a nice balance to the criminal, and there are people to go after.
Sure.
And I enjoy but I wish things didn't happen. I always say I'm a lovely person. You never want to be in my office because something bad has happened.
Yes.
And but I like fighting for the little guy.
Yes.
I'm short.
Yes, you are.
It's a natural fit that I like the little guy.
That is awesome. Well, let's walk back down memory lane for just a moment.
Okay.
Tell me, what brought you to Atlanta?
I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina,
Right.
and I loved South Carolina, but I wanted to leave home,
Yes.
and I ended up at Emory, and so just down I-20.
Yes,
Didn't go
that's
that
right.
far.
That's right.
I headed west,
Yes.
and then I really, I loved Atlanta, and so I chose University of Georgia Law School, and one thing leads to another, and I've just stayed put.
Yes. And you were born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina.
Richland Northeast High School.
Yes, that's right. When you think of Columbia, what comes to mind?
It's just home. It's just home. My mom's still there, there's South Carolina, and I grew up, we had a home, well, first we had a trailer on the coast, and then eventually they got a house in Surrey, And so I think my fondest memories overall is on the coast. We would spend summers there. My dad would go back and forth during the work week.
Yes.
And I remember, and crabbing with my mother. My mother, they used to call my mom the crab lady.
Really?
Yeah. She had a phenomenal talent for it. And I just remember hours and hours and hours in the summer, you know, laying on the beach, or on the dock,
Right,
with
right.
the chicken neck in the water, and getting all excited pulling out the crab.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
Why we like South Carolina?
Yes. I mean, there's no better place than here.
In Atlanta.
That's right. Don't forget Atlanta.
And I hate to tell you, but I became a hardcore Georgia Bulldog.
Is that right?
Yeah. So sorry, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Gamecocks.
Forever.
You know, let's just say y'all beat us this year.
Yes.
But we did have a good season.
You did.
And we'll rematch again.
There you go. Well, you know, upon completion of high school, you actually enrolled at Emory University in 1984. Tell me, what was so attractive about Emory that made you say yes to that school?
I visited a couple schools, and I was very fixated on going to a bigger city. And I did one of those weekend trips there, and I liked it. It was the good combination of, it was a large school, but not so large that you get lost, right?
Yeah.
For me, I was very shy. You're going to crack. I was really quiet coming out of high school, really quiet. And, you know, I did things like the Model UN team where I wasn't quiet, or that College Bowl Challenge question thing. But on social, I was very quiet. And so by going to a smaller school, it is easier to dive in to the social and to whatever it is your interest is. You know, at a big school, there's all this competition to do. And so I needed that incubator. So Emory was a good place for that.
And you later went to law school at the University of Georgia. Talk to me about your years there.
Law school was, you know, obviously it's the base of what I do.
Yes.
But it wasn't easy. You know, I had sailed through school very easily, knock on wood. And then law school, it was a lot harder. It changed. And I was very young. If I had to do it over again, I graduated college in 3 years.
That's awesome.
And then went on straight to law school.
Yes.
And so I didn't have the maturity.
Okay.
And I could tell that I went to every football game,
Really?
you know, which is not what you do when you're in law school.
Sure.
So I had to grow up. I wasn't quite emotionally ready for that. So it was a challenge at first. And then I got into it. And the things that I loved, though, were anytime we did mock trial or court or the advocacy times, then I was in my element and I thought, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
But law school itself, I love my law school. I'm grateful for my education. If practice was like school, I wouldn't be doing it 25 years. If that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. And you later went on becoming a prosecutor. Talk to me about your years of doing that.
Loved. I first started off in Barrow Banks in Jackson County, which if you go north on 85 beyond Atlanta, it's in 3 counties beyond. And the best thing that ever could happen to me was being in a country, you know, a rural area doing that, because you literally, it was, here's a file, go do it. There was no hierarchy that you have to wait 10 years to be able to try a certain case or do something. And it was, I think it's there that I kind of got that imprint of how much I like working with the individuals, and that I wanted a law practice where you're not removed. You know, if you go to a big firm, and they're needed, listen, I get it. And for some people, they thrive there, but there isn't that connection that you're always talking to the client. You're always talking to people involved. And when in a small jurisdiction like that, you're always talking to victims. You're running into them. You see them, the jurors you see around town. It has a feel to it that I think has helped me when I've moved to someplace bigger, that you need to get that same real connection, not figure out that you're too big for your pants. Get over it. Because there's a lot of that in lawyers.
I'm sure.
And so it was really, really one of the best times I had practicing law.
That's awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah. And as you know, you have tried so many high-profile cases. Tell me, what one has had a personal impact on you?
Well, I mean, Janarla Wilson's case
Yes.
was transformative on a lot of levels. Because I will tell you, when his mother came in to see me, Charlo was 17 years old. He had consensual oral sex with a 15-year-old. At the time, under Georgia law, that was aggravated child molestation. They carried a minimum 10 years in prison and lifetime sex offender registry. And someone else represented him at trial, and the mom came to me on the appeal. And I said to her, well, we've got to get the law changed. And I knew it was going to be an uphill battle, but I honestly, in my little heart, thought if I can get the legislature to fix the law, if I can, then we can get this worked out, that this doesn't have to stay. And instead, it turned into a 3-year battle where every time I thought we were going to win or get moving forward, we get knocked back down. And I think that, you know, I was used to going into a courtroom and trying a case or winning, or going or negotiating, knock on wood. And I think it's from things, just how my life was here, and how I was raised about how to negotiate. That's why I get upset over Washington right now. You know, that you have to talk to people, you have to create relationships. It's part of why I'm here in Charleston now for Renaissance. Understanding that we do have commonality, no matter what. I mean, and so here in that case, it was time after time we'd have a little victory and a setback and a setback and a setback. And in terms of, I mean, besides the feeling connection to your client and your family and just the injustice of it all, realizing that some things just take a long time and you can't give up. Because there were plenty of times I was just like, this is crazy. What am I doing? And I ripped apart my law firm, I ripped apart my financial affair. I mean, it brought me down to the most. By the time that case had occurred, I had 5 lawyers. It was down to me, one other lawyer with no secretary, and the facts coming over with the decision saying we had won. So those are the things that make you better. You know, hardship makes you better, and learning, and learning what mistakes business-wise you made, what made where you could have gone legally so that the next go around maybe, so hopefully you never have to go through that long of a fight for justice again, but if you have to, you know you can.
Yeah, that's right. And speaking of high-profile cases, when a lot of attorneys run away from it, as far as the media spotlight is concerned, why do you run towards it?
Well, you know, it's funny. There's a perception I always run toward it, and I actually have more that I keep out of the news than I do. And it's a strange, and I think you know this. Because you're Twitter. I mean, it's how we know each other.
That's right.
I mean, besides just running on the street, that we all connect through, whether it's television, social media, whatever it is. That's how we really connect. And so for people to say, I don't do that, I don't handle that, and you're not serving your client completely. Because it's the reality of that there is going to be a discussion potentially with your client, and you have to decide, how can I level the playing field? You know, there are plenty of things that I don't talk about publicly for a lot of reasons, but sometimes it's imposed. You know, if a prosecutor holds a press conference and vilifies my client who's simply been arrested and not had the chance to go into court, I got to make sure at least I have a shot in that courtroom. And I may need to balance that out. And in terms of learning how to do it, you know, it started, I met Lisa out. So when I was in South Carolina as a little girl, I was on a show on public television called the Junebug Show. And it was 3 little girls and 3 little boys, and I was about 5 years old, or like 5 to 7 years old, and it was a daily children's show. And so that is where I learned to be comfortable in front of the camera. And then I think that Mr. Rogers got more extended time, and we were knocked off the air.
Oh no!
I know. So, but it did implant, I think, a comfort level that at a very early age it was no big deal. It was no big deal. And so, and keep it in perspective, because you know what? People aren't tuning in for me. They're tuning in to learn what's happening with an issue that they care about. And that's, if you keep it in your mind that way, you're all right. It's the people who decide that's their identity, you got a problem.
Well, describe to me the following one word.
One word. Oh, wait, one word? That is not one word. Okay, here we go.
Okay, describe the law for me.
Oh, Lord. In one word, describe
Well, you can take as much as you want.
Yeah,
the privilege.
It is the most it's the most precious thing we have. That unlike other places, you're dissatisfied. And now I just have one word. Voice. Voice. It gives us all voice. So all can give you a voice.
One word to describe that.
Hot later.
I wish it was hot there now. Here too.
Exactly.
It's cold. One word to describe Columbia.
You know, Southerners, where you're from isn't where you live, it's where you're born.
Oh, that's right.
My mom's there, my father's since passed away, but he lays his head there. But we always joke, he is buried in the Jewish cemetery in Columbia, and he picked a plot years ago. He was a major Gamecock fan. I went to every Carolina football game from the time I can remember. Went to basketball with him in the glory days of John Roach and all those.
Yes.
And so he said he wanted to be facing the stadium. So he picked his plot, because it's right in the middle of the university. It's really almost in the university campus.
Right there, yeah.
And so Dad's over there where he lives. It's home.
That's awesome. One word to describe Brenda Joy Bernstein.
How do you know my real name?
Research.
There you go. And you know what's funny is I was Brenda Joy until I became a lawyer. And then for whatever reason, I mean, BJ started getting thrown around a little bit in college, but it just switched and it stuck. So I can always tell who knows me from South Carolina because they'll say, Brenda Joy, how are you?
Yes.
And in one word,
Go
I think
ahead.
the joy.
Really?
Take the middle name. If I can live my life with joy, I can do that.
Yes. Well, meantime, you have won several awards and accolades for your commitment to justice. Tell me, what do those awards mean to you?
It's humbling. I mean, it's. I'm always appreciative. You don't want to say, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's humbling. I think the most precious one was at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and they brought in different, and it was the president of Ireland, the first female president of Ireland, who she's just this phenomenal force. And they brought in different people to each give us our award. And for me, they brought in John Lewis. And Congressman Lewis goes back for me to when I was in Emory. And my focus at Emory was history, my career was in history, and I focused on civil rights issues. And I was taking a seminar, and there were only 6 of us in the class, and John Lewis came. At the time, he was a city councilman. And to those who don't know, John Lewis, crossed the Lewis Pettus Bridge, and spoke at the March on Washington, and is one of the greatest civil rights leaders still with us today. And I remember he came to our class, we were all excited, he's going to tell us the stories for 2 hours.
Yes.
And he spent over an hour and a half talking about the homeless in Atlanta. And I remember thinking, this is, we were excited still to meet him, but at that age, I thought, that's kind of weird. Why are you talking about that?
Sure.
And then fast forward with time, and he reached out to Gennaro, and he went to go see Gennaro in prison. I remember I told his staff, I go, Congressman Lewis just wants to meet him on a Sunday. I said, they don't do prison visits on Sunday. And I said, they give us Bernstein.
Yeah.
It's Congressman Lewis. We can get in.
Yeah,
I said,
exactly. Yeah.
So to watch him hand his book to Gennaro and talking about his time when he was jailed. And it was an unjust situation. And then when and I realized it crystallized for me why he's such a role model for me, because he has never rested on his past victories. He's just said, here's another problem. I got to work on it. And another problem. So back then, when I was young, he was past the civil rights movement, and he said, no, I'm worried about the homeless. And now in Washington, he stood up for a number of causes. And it's a life lesson. So when they brought him in to give me that, that's beyond my wildest dreams.
It's moving, historic, sentimental.
Sentimental. And I just love that man. I just do. Every time I see him, I just want to...
Just give him a big hug.
I do give him a big hug every time. I do. And he's a role model. You know, you can't. I may never have another case in news. You know what? That's fine, because I know that when I go to work every day, there's someone else that I'm getting to work for, and they're putting their trust in me, and I have to just do it. And if you do that, I think you're okay in the world.
Yes. And you also help out in the community a whole lot. And you serve on many boards, and you volunteer for many organizations. I'm curious, actually. Why do you want to give back to a community that you've already served?
Because that's, to me, that's my job. These are things that connect me to the heart, and also, and part of why I'm here at Renaissance is that, you know, it's not a perfect world. We've not fulfilled what I think God has us all here to do, and sometimes scratches his head like, what are you doing? And the only people who can fix that is us. And so you do have to connect to make the world better, and then also to get there's nothing better than a heartfelt hug from someone that you connect to, that you wouldn't think you would. Again, you know, we put all these boundaries of who we think we're supposed to be friends with, who we're supposed to know, and that behind somebody, even some of the worst. I mean, I haven't had all perfect clients, and I have people who've done some bad things, but getting behind it, trying to understand how that happened. Particularly right now, I'm very concerned about, and I deal so much with people who don't heal in my practice, and how much understanding, and how, you know, look at what's happening in Newtown, and it's reminding us that we have to look behind the easy knee-jerk reaction of, we'll just put them away. We can't put all of this away. We have a lot of people who are suffering, and we have to reach out to them. And it's your obligation, I think, to be here, on some level, commensurate with what you can do and the other challenges that God's given you, to do what you can. And it's that concept, you know, random acts of kindness, really, they're mandatory.
Yes, they are.
They're mandatory.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's talk about your next chapter. What do you want to do next?
You know, I always love, I just wait for the phone, and I don't pick what I get to do next.
Okay.
The phone calls that come in, pick what I do next. And that's another, I love the mystery of it. You know, I'll go in, I think I'm doing one thing on one day, and someone calls, and I get a new case, and it changes my world. So I think on my spiritual side, people say, "Oh, you plan your career." You don't plan your career. You know, it's who's running down the street and says hi, and then we sit here like this.
You talk.
Right, exactly. Those are the things that happen. And so I don't have any plans per se, other than to keep practicing law. I never envision not practicing law anytime in the near future.
Yeah.
You'd have to take away my voice, and even then, I'd probably have a big sign holding up my argument. I don't know. So.
That is awesome. Well, B.J. Bernstein, it was so good talking to you.
It's so good, and Happy New Year.
Likewise.
It's going to be a good one.
To you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.